Well, there are many issues I would like to raise with you. My most pressing unresolved questions revolve around what I saw and experienced on January 6th when I had to dive for cover in the House gallery as violent insurrectionists attempted to break down the doors and take the chamber. The rioters who breached the Capitol building were propelled by at least one belief that the election had been stolen from former President Donald Trump. They reached this false and dangerous conclusion without evidence, yet somehow in massive numbers. Their assault was not disorganized or isolated, and it was not coincidence. So, Mr. Zuckerberg, you and your colleagues have downplayed the role Facebook played in helping the rioters mobilize on January 6th. In light of growing evidence that suggests otherwise, including the fact that Facebook was the most cited social media site in charging documents the Department of Justice filed against insurrectionists, do you still deny that your platform was used as a significant megaphone for the lies that fueled the insurrection?
Congressman, to be clear, I think part of the reason why our services are very cited in the charging docs is because we worked closely with law enforcement to help identify the people who were there. So I don't view that collaboration with law enforcement should be seen as a negative reflection on our services. And as I've said a number of times to today, there was content on our services from some of these folks. I think that was problematic. But by and large, I also think that by putting in place policies banning QAnon, banning militias, banning other conspiracy networks, we generally made our services inhospitable to a lot of these folks. And that had the unfortunate consequence of having those folks not use Facebook and use other places as well. So there's certainly more for us to do. But I stand behind the work that we've done with law enforcement on this and the systems that we have in place.
Thank you. Mr. Pichai, can you affirmatively state that YouTube did not recommend videos with Stop the Steal content, white supremacy content, and other hate and conspiracy content that were seen by rioters at the Capitol?
Congressman, we had clear policies and we were vigorously enforcing this area. Just leading up to the election, we had removed hundreds of thousands of videos and we had terminated 8,000 channels. And on the day of the riot, we were successfully able to take down inappropriate live streams. We gave precedence to journalistic organizations covering the event, and that's the content we raised up on YouTube that day. And since then, we have been cooperating with law enforcement as well.
So you're indicating that you did not recommend videos with Stop the Steal?
We were rigorously enforcing. We had clear policies around content that undermined election integrity. Once the state certified the election on December 8th, we introduced a sensitive events policy, and we did take down videos which were violative. And so we've been monitoring it very closely.
And thank you. And Mr. Dorsey, are you confident that the conspiracy theorists or other purveyors of electoral misinformation and Stop the Steal on Twitter were not recommended to others?
I can't say that with confidence, but I know we did work really hard to make sure that if we saw any amplification that went against the terms of service, which this would, we took action immediately. We didn't have any upfront indication that this would happen, so we had to react to it quite quickly.
All right, thank you. So who and what content your platforms recommend have real world consequences, and the riot caused 5 deaths and shook our democratic foundations. But I believe that your platforms are responsible for the content you promote, and look forward to working with my colleagues to determine how to hold you accountable. Mr. Pichai and Google and YouTube often slip under the radar as a source of disinformation, but in the last election, bad actors used ads on Google search to scam people looking for voting information, and YouTube failed to remove videos that spread misinformation about the 2020 vote results. So, Mr. Pichai, when journalists pointed out in November that election misinformation was rampant on Google's YouTube, the company said it was allowing discussions of election processes and results. A month later, YouTube said it would remove new content alleging widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. Why did YouTube wait a month to take action on election misinformation?
If I could clarify here, we were taking down videos leading up to the election there is obviously a month from the date of election till there are due processes, court challenges, and we waited till this, we consulted with CISPA and the Association of Secretaries of State. And on December 8th, when the states certify the election, we started enforcing newer policies on December 9th. To be very clear, we were showing information from the Associated Press, and we were proactively showing information high up in our search results to give, relevant information throughout this election cycle.